Hello there. Hi, it's Anita again, who's the hosting this podcast today. Okay, it's about my fourth one now, my starting on these podcast series. So I'm going first of all to think about the Pilates system. This is I think my fourth podcast. My first one was classical versus contemporary. Now just going on to, I won't call it classical, I'll try and call it the Pilates system, the method, the series of exercises created by Joseph Pilates himself. And what I'm going to go about, rather than sort of like scrutinizing what is the difference between all the different methods of Pilates, it's actually I'm going to cover the system and also like the advantages of having a Pilates studio, like the whole utilizing the whole studio with all the pieces of equipment. We're talking about the mat, the reformer, the chair, the caddy, the barrels, all the different sizes of the barrels, the pedipal, the high chair, or known as the electric chair, the armchair. So there's a lot of things, and there is an advantage to having. I mean, it's quite expensive to buy everything, but if you're lucky enough, or you work or own a studio, you're lucky enough to have a studio with everything in. It's how you can utilize your studio to the fullest. So take example like the mat, doing the mat exercise, the mat repertoire, the classical mat, and things like it's really hard to, you can sort of like build up the roll down, the roll up. So like with lots of my clients, it's really a difficult task. So I've run a beginner to an intermediate class, been doing it for a long time. We do the half roll back, see how far they can get down, because obviously this is an online class, and where they reach their point where it's slightly uncomfortable, they stay in their long flexion and come back to their starting position without coming into that tall back. So that's just an example. But if you have a studio, you've got the use of a caddy, and then you have the rollback bar, which is the pole attached to the springs onto, and it's attached to the caddy. You can work on the segmentation of the spine bone by bone. You can sit up tall. You can curl the tailbone under, and then bone by bone, you can bring the spine down. And then the same way, coming up, chin to chest, and then rolling up vertebra by vertebra, bone by bone. So that's a way to build your roll up, rather than, so if you've just got the mat, it's going to be really difficult to use that. But if you've got like a caddy to work on, it's a nice way to build that exercise up, if you have the full use of a studio. And things like I've got one, say moving on to reformer exercises now. Not all of them are easy. So for example, the stomach massage, it's not a very easy one, and lots of my clients do struggle with it. So what I tend to do is use the chair footwork to, it's sort of like you can get onto that same position, but without that squishy feeling. So it just gets them to lift up nice and tall. They get that same sort of, legs is not as squishy, but they get that sort of same feeling where the springs, the foot bar on the chair goes straight into those abdominal muscles. So they can do the footwork from the balls of the feet, the arches, the heels, and then they get that same feeling as stomach massage with they can either hold onto the chair, have their hands behind their head, or reach up. Especially doing the with the heel lower and lift, they can just reach up. So it's just a couple of examples where you can utilize your studio for your mats and reform. So it's quite difficult on the mat and on the reformer. And things also like reformer chest expansion, where the carriage is moving, and it's quite a bit daunting. So you could move that onto pedal, perhaps. Okay, chest expansion exercises where you're standing, or you could do it standing or kneeling on the caddy. So there's lots of ways you can just, these is how these exercises link together. And that's the purpose of having that studio feel, because literally, I mean, lots of people, including myself, all we thought existed in the early days was mat and then reformer. Then you don't think about all the other equipment within the studio. And then another one, which I'm thinking of, is the overheads, which again, it's not easy to push yourself up unless you're a gymnast or a dancer or really, really strong. It's really hard. And you don't want to engage on the wrong, you don't want to engage in through the neck or the wrong part of the body or go into that lower back. So a good part to break that down, to sort of like build that, you've got your small barrel, you've got your spine corrector. And even if you don't have those, if you haven't got the studio, you've got the small over ball, the small stability ball, which can help with that. And that will actually help to lift those hips off the floor. That's a couple of examples. So I mean, if you've tried it, if out of nowhere, if you're not too strong and you just try to lift up and you're using your lower back and your neck, it's not very pleasant. So things like the small barrel and the spine corrector will definitely assist in things like that. And also you've got, speaking I've talked about small barrels, you've got the ladder barrel to help you with the swan on the reformer. Again, you've got your carriage moving, it may not be that easy, so you've got something still. You've got your ladder barrel for your swan preps, or even a full swan, but without the carriage moving. And you can also do your short box series on your on your ladder barrel as well. So there's quite a few things there. So see where I'm coming from with all the different pieces of equipment that you can use to sort of build the exercise. And eventually when you do get proficient in those, you can actually do your full mat, and obviously your full reformer as well. So it's just a way to nicely build those exercises. And there's another one which is not always too easy. You've got your going back onto the mat, you've got your single leg circles, and a good way to build that one are the caddy springs. Again, you've got a still mat, but then you've got your leg springs. The leg springs are quite heavy, so if you wanted to, you've also got the option of the arm springs as well. So what would you do? You would do was put the opposite spring, so the left spring would be on the right leg, and that will give you that, when you do your leg circles, that diagonal where you do the circles in towards the body and out towards the body. So you get that feeling, but then you get the more resistant, more control. So your legs aren't swinging everywhere. You have the springs to like help you with that. So yeah, just a few little ideas of how you can utilize your studio, sort of like to strengthen your mat work, so if you want to build up to the intermediate to advanced mat work. Same thing with your reformer work. You have lots of pieces of equipment where you can build on those exercises. So there you go. So that's just my brief take on the method and how you can build it up. So bye for now. Have an amazing weekend and speak to you on the next podcast. Take care for now.